Hey, my friends, here we're at another video, another day. Man, we're blowing through this. Do you know that we're already almost to um 20% of these videos? If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm doing one video a day every single day for the first 100 days of 2025. Guys, I'm almost to number 20. And so you know what that means? We're chipping away. So, here is today's topic. This is one money theory that I have that has really helped me as a landlord. Let's get to it. So, here we are, 2025. I'm seeing a lot of landlords struggle. So we've got the insurance crisis. So that's one part of it. We have, interest rates. We've had that the market is overall slower. Things are taking longer to sell. Things are taking longer to rent. All of that. Then on top of it, you then have things like, um, for example, interest rates have gone higher. I mentioned the insurance, you've got property taxes, the cost of things, the cost of repairs. I personally have had some tenants leave because they can no longer afford the rental. There's things like that that I'm seeing. So with that being said, it different markets cause different issues, but I am seeing a lot of landlords struggle. Why? They're struggling because of um their overall plan. Maybe plan's not the right word. Maybe that's a little bit of a harsh way to say it. Or maybe a lack of a plan. So I want to give you one money theory that I have that has helped me during this time. I'm not immune, right? I've had properties I've financed that I've had to take back. I just got told that two of my tenants are not renewing, right? Or one of them broke their lease. So we're seeing stuff like that, right? I'm not immune to it, but here's how I'm taking the hits to my chin and able to keep going forward. Again, don't love it, but able to move forward. It's this theory that I have that when I buy property, so when I'm playing what I call offense, and offense to me is I'm buying properties, financing, like I'm getting financing, things like that. Whenever I'm doing that, I am using other people's money to do it. OPM, right? And so this may be through stuff like seller financing. This may look like private money from everyday individuals. And this is what I'm using to acquire properties. And so this has actually been the main way that I've bought properties. And so with that being said, whether it is excess cash flow when I sell a property and I make money out of it, different things like that. When I have come into capital, or it's the accumulation of capital, I consider that my defense. And so let me break that down a little bit more. So, when I say defense, I mean that how I'm able to stay in the game is by having cash in the bank. And so I'm of the belief that you shouldn't take money from your rentals early on. You should let that money accumulate over time, and then eventually you can then take that capital and put it, eventually you can put it to use. But the way I see it is that my rentals are like children, right? As a mother, if I had these children and while they were young, they were still getting their feet underneath them, and if I was starting to depend on them early on, then ultimately, that would be considered, you know, there would be a level that would be considered um like that would traumatize them, right? Like me depending too soon on a child, that would be an issue. So what I've seen, and or what I've seen is that a lot of investors, they get rentals and they're like, well, this needs to pay for my lifestyle, and so they kind of bleed that turnip dry. But then the minute that they have a vacancy, the minute that they have a repair go wrong, something, that causes issues. So what I am ultimately doing is I have delayed, you know, gratitude. I've delayed um, compensation, delayed all of that by letting the cash flow build up in the business. And that's how I stay in it is I have that again. So cash flow, as well as, any proceeds from loans or proceeds from sales, that stays in the bank account. And so I see my cash from the business. I see that as my defense. Again, that's how I can weather the storm, the vacancies, the repairs, the higher insurance costs. Look, the higher insurance costs has caused some of my rental properties to turn negative. Some of them are just a little bit less cash flow. Some of them are break even. Some of them are negative. Just this morning, I was on the phone with my insurance guy, figuring out what was going on, and ultimately trying to get, hey, go requote these two properties when I did an audit. Hey, these are the ones that are the worst right now, right? And so I'm doing stuff like that. But whenever I look at buying properties, I'm looking to use other people's money. Now, as a creative real estate investor, earlier this week I bought a property and it was only $20,000. It was actually 18,000 out of pocket. So yes, I used that money. Uh, that specific deal, I end up using my own cash for that. And so there's going to be times that I make an exception, but at the same time, there's opportunities that I know that I'm able to recoup that so that I can still play defense. So know that it's not a hard and fast rule that I never not, for example, use my own money to close a deal, but it's just something to keep in mind. Look, it's not easy whenever that cash, grows and piles up in a bank account. That's not easy. It is something that it does take discipline to not use that to go buy another house, but to really use that for defense. And so what we've seen is I've seen a lot of people who only play offense, right? They don't plan for a rainy day. They don't plan for the demand that comes with owning properties, right? This is what I talk about when it says that could you get into these properties with little to no money? On the offense side, yeah, I can get into these properties with none of my own cash, but to keep them, that's a different story. And so that's where I'm having to have, again, the discipline, that money theory, that money concept, that money principle of being able to say, hey, I am planning for, for that, rainy day or whatever. And I think that's critical. It's critical to keep that in mind. So that's my tip for today. Let me know your thoughts. I see a lot of people, again, they make plans for acquisitions. They don't make plans for management, for keeping these properties. And so this one money theory has greatly impacted my ability to handle difficult markets as a landlord. And I'm curious your thoughts, guys. This is one video a day for the first 100. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe here. Appreciate you guys. See you tomorrow.